Hi, Sintra, is it pronounced like this? Thanks for joining. I'm still a little bit in kind of research because I'm missing one information. Which I haven't got yet, so... But I will continue working on the NES pretty soon, because there's still some other work left to do. Okay, thanks. It's really hard if you have people joining the channel and then they have names you have never seen before. And especially as a German, it is sometimes really hard to figure out how to pronounce the names, and therefore I tend to ask whether I'm completely off or almost on. That's really one thing. So, well, yeah, the main issue I'm facing right now, I got a special version of this RGB mod where I have the chance to switch the modes we have seen here right now, with the help of my my gamepad and the instruction I've got are missing the point where I have to connect the wires, and I may just switch to a detailed view. So if I move this back a little bit into view, so the old method is just kind of using those 3 connection points here, but the method I want to use is basically switching the graphic modes and having the reset function by using my gamepad. And I have to connect these 3 wires to this IC here and to 2 pins of the CPU, but I have no information which wire has to go where, and therefore I'm still a bit reluctant to progress with this one. But what I have done so far yet is actually I did some casework, and I got the holes into my case already. The second one unfortunately is a bit off, so it's not as standard as the other ones, but well, casework isn't really my main preference, so I'm really struggling with this a bit, but I think it's going to do the trick. And one is going to be the S-video socket, and the other one is going to be the RGB socket, and the third one is going to be the audio for the S-video connection. And it's still a bit off, yeah, unfortunately. Well, but it's on the back side of the console, so it's not that I don't care, but it's not really my passion, so to say. So the goal for today's session is going to be bring in the sockets to the case, do the wiring to the sockets, and then kind of putting this whole thing back into the case. There will be still some work left, so what I'm not going to do today is the reset mod. I have the chance to use the gamepad to perform a reset, which is probably very comfortable if you have a multi-game cartridge, for example. Then you do not have to reach out to your console. I mean, I'm not going to complain, the console is usually in front of me, but just imagine having the console somewhere on your shelf and then have to reach out to the reset button just to switch a game. Well, it can be better, and therefore, well, the better is the enemy of the good. I was really interested in to see this functionality, and basically this requires that I go to modify this socket a bit, but in order to get this working I need to know where I have to connect the wires to, and therefore I will kind of postpone this modification for a later session. And as I said, today's goal is just to get the wiring internal to the sockets and having a, let's say, a little bit better audio routing as well, and then to bring it back into the case, and then I will continue with the stuff as soon as I have received the information that's actually missing. So, and in order to do so, I am going to desolder some of the wires because I have to do this on different, let's say, concept, but before we do so, let's just have a brief look if it is still working. Yeah, it pretty much looks like this. Oh, can't reach that point. But yeah, it is still working, and therefore I think I can continue working on this mod. It's always good when you're going to change something that you test whether it is still working before you go to change something, because you don't know if the latest change has caused the problem or if the problem already exists before you started to change something. And that's like a software development. Never fix two problems at the same time. And therefore, that's what I'm going to do right now. And let's switch to the review. And first, I think I'm going to get rid of those cables here. Since I have no idea where to connect them on the other side anyway, and before they go and start making some troubles. We are going to use them later. So, and the next thing is going to get this audio off from here. And to disconnect the wires from here. Just recognize that something is missing in this scene. Play, now playing, what's that? Is for play, okay. So next play and now playing. Okay, so far so good. So, and as a next thing, I have to come up with some internal cables, and for this I had the idea to use one remaining part of the other SCART cable. Just have to find it again. So this is at the back of the console, so if you turn it like this, it's going to look like this, so it's not a long distance we have to bridge. Just going from here to here, and it's on the bottom of the console as well. This is going to be audio, so we need about, say, 10-12 centimeters or something like this. Not making it too short, need a bit to breathe, and especially to get the console out of the case later on. That's probably enough, so I think we're going to need to dismantle the whole thing. So that's the remaining part of my SCART cable I have used on the other side. And my idea is to use this. My expectation was a little bit differently, I have to admit. So I want to use this for the video because it's shielded. And just want to preserve as much quality on the inside as possible. So a shielded cable may work a bit better. So and on the other side we have some PCB. That's for the YC part and that's for the RGB part, where we have to solder the cable to, and then this is going to be the backside of our socket here. And this kind of, well, this defines how we have to build the connector later on. So that's really important. Five volt. I'm not even sure whether we need 5 volt on this. This may be important for some televisions to switch to the mode, but the OSSC is working fine without this information. So actually, for the sake of this modification right now, I leave it as it is. And the interesting thing is it makes probably some, well, that's an interesting thing. So because if we add this to the case and we have this PCB on the back, then we can remove it any longer. So if I'm going to do so, I'm kind of limited, and therefore I think because if I solder the wires to the top of the PCB right now, it's hard to get to the pins any longer. So I may just glue the sockets into the case, then I do the soldering of the PCB to the socket, and then I solder the wires to the PCB just to have a certain order. And oh yeah, I hadn't checked this before, so that's probably going to be the way we have to go. And since I mean we talk about 5 wires, so it's not going to be too tricky. But it looks a little bit like we can't go back from this one, because if we have soldered the PCB to the socket, then you will have almost no chance to remove it from this any longer. The other way would be to use the socket from the inside, like this. Then I may have to extend the hole a bit. and glue it from the inside to the case. And later on I could simply heat it up and remove it from the case, but I think I'm going to use this method here. Just have to find... Well, I was really... yeah. I thought that's going to be a bit easier. But well, anyway. This is basically not a deal breaker now. Just have to find a good alignment. But as soon as the plug is inserted, then we may not recognize it at all, whether it is a bit off or if it is aligned perfectly. Thanks for joining, Sindra. Have a nice dinner. Enjoy your meal. City10, how are you? Good morning. Yeah, good morning. It's in the evening here in Germany. And hi, Bergman. Thanks for joining. So, if you haven't watched the video yesterday until the end, or if you have missed the beginning of this video, so I basically ended up getting video and audio to work, and I started to work on the how are we going to call this, the controller based graphic changes. But I had to kind of abandon this because I'm missing some information. I was not able to retrieve them until now, so I decided to skip this step for now and move on getting some sockets into my case. And I just figured out that this is indeed a kind of awkward position. And especially here I will really have a hard time, but fortunately we just talk about basically 4 wires on this side, so that's probably not so complicated. Basically just 3 wires because it's YC and ground. So let's just glue this in here as well. An RGB mod for the Atari 2600. That sounds funny, yes. In television, that's fine, yeah. I mean, it's a bit crazy how much work, effort and money we throw on those very old consoles just to get out a decent graphics quality. Would perhaps easier to understand why we do this for systems with very good resolution or something like this, with very high resolution, but those more blocky pixel oriented systems. So first sockets are in, and then I'm going to turn this around. This is not going to be glued, this is going to be screwed in. So. Well, kind of nice. I may have to add some glue to the bottom of this, but such a tight place. No idea how to reach this point. So, I think now it happened what I was going to avoid. I added some glue to my contacts. This will be a bit smelly to solder. Okay, well, now it feels more robust. Yeah. So, let's have some alcohol-free beer. Switch off. So, what path should I now take for this one? I think we do not have to glue this in, just keep it where it is and put the shield back on, and then I think it will remain in place. But we have to keep in mind that we may have to have to place some screws here. And I kind of forgot which direction this was mounted to. Really? Like this? No. Like this? No, kind of. Looks good to me. So. RGB modding a Famicom. Well, yeah, I'm considering this as well. I mean, I got a Famicom myself just a week ago, and it is indeed a very, very adorable system. It's so cute, and I got the composite mod on it as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The picture quality of the RGB mod is really, it's stunning. It's so impressive. So I'm really thinking about doing this to the Famicom as well. I mean, what kind of bugs me a bit is that this mod is frigging expensive. So I mean, maybe this controller switch reset function is not really necessary, so we may save about 20 euros or something like this if I just use the normal RGB mod. But I mean, if you keep in mind that this mod costs about 100 euro, for this kind of money I get 2 Famicom clones already with HDMI output or something like this. So it is indeed a bit crazy what we're doing to this old hardware. And I mean, fortunately, actually I have 3 NES in different states. And this is basically my test NES, which I basically just bought because I kind of screwed up another NES for a friend of mine. And I have one NES which is a kind of factory. Well, it comes with RGB already, and but this isn't working, so I have to repair this. And I got another NES which I want to keep in original state. So, and that's probably going to be the same situation with the Famicom. I want to have one that's in original state, but so far I wasn't able to find one that hasn't been modded at all. So most of them are modded with the component. No, not with, yeah. No, with the composite mod already. But on the other side, I mean, an original Famicom with just a high frequency connection is worthless at all, because I have no TV set or something like this where I can connect this to. So it has to be at least modded in this way. And yeah, it's really, well, the Famicom is really cute, and the set of games is very nice. But yeah, well, I really have to think about it. It's really expensive. That's a problem. Yeah, I really have to push this to a later moment in time. And basically I have so many other projects in the queue that it is indeed a bit hard to prioritize. So now I have to decide which side is going to be. Maybe we're going to use this one for here, and maybe we're going to have a little bit longer connection here. So if I bend it a bit, I may use a small... Just thinking about how to have some mechanical support for the cables, just in case if I'm taking out this whole board, then I'm not going to rip off the cables. So... Hi, Highlander. Nice to see you back. No water damage, I am happy to say. Well, congrats. That's really good news. Just a PS3 controller needed cleaning. Okay, that is really a very good outcome. I was indeed a bit scared yesterday with your bunch of devices affected by this little accident. So... Yeah, I hadn't really planned to do the next live stream today, but I have to admit I'm a bit tired from the yesterday session, so which was indeed a bit longer than expected. And I have to admit that I spent about an hour playing NES games after the session, and so I went to bed at about 3 in the morning, and therefore I'm still a bit tired, and I'm not in the mood to do something else. So I thought, well, okay, let's work on the NES for a while and try to get those connections ready to go. As much as I love to have this open electronics on my desk, it is a bit cumbersome and a bit too sensitive, because I really have to pay attention that I do not throw something on the board or something like this to cause some short circuits or something like this. It never happened so far. I'm happy that I'm kind of careful what this in this regard. But who knows? I mean, especially working with cables like this, where you have a lot of teeny tiny metal wires, it is so easy to throw them or to drop them on a board like this. And if you have a short circuit on this, you will probably never figure out what has died so far. And therefore, I want to put this back into the case. Especially if I keep in mind that I have actually 2 open NES roaming around here and at least 3 64s I'm working on. So I really have to get this done at a certain moment in time. And I'm just looking for a piece of shrink insulation. Thought I had some left from yesterday. Blind luck. Well, sometimes we need to have some luck as well. I may use this one. I kind of fixed my soldering station, so I haven't changed that much. I just was kind of cleaning the connector, and there are 4 pins coming out of the soldering station, and they are kind of it's like 2 half barrels or something like this, or whatever you want to call this, and I was able to just spread them a little bit to have a much tighter fit of the socket. And after some jiggling and friggling, whatever you want to call this, it is now kind of working reliable. So fingers crossed it will remain for a while. So that's going to be the connection for this, and I think I will just throw a blob of hot glue onto the wires to have some kind of mechanical support, or I may put it like this and use this part here. I'm not sure whether I have this such a small cable strip, so regular maintenance then on the soldering iron. Yeah, probably. This is it's really amazing. I mean, as I started to work with the C64s, I had a standard soldering iron with no temperature control. No, that's actually not true. I had a very old Vela soldering station, which I got during my apprenticeship, and this is let me do the math. 27 years ago. This makes me much older than I feel, actually. Anyway, and yeah, I was using this Vela soldering station, but it has no temperature control. It was just one fixed temperature, and I have not even an idea what the temperature was like. And it was eating up soldering tips like crazy. So, and this was a bit sad because those original Vela soldering tips are pretty expensive. And I was looking for a soldering station where I have temperature control and where I have hot air as well. And fortunately, a buddy at the Forum 64 had just one, well, kind of leftover device at his place, and I had a chance to get this for, well, reasonable amount of money. And this has improved my soldering a lot, and since then it's actually, I think, the third or fourth tip I'm using right now. And it's a very small tip, which I use for SMD parts as well. They kind of wear out pretty quickly, but yeah, it is very, very useful. Light, yeah, this is a kind of light blue station. That's right, yeah. They are usually, they have a pretty good quality, and if I just consider that this is about 30 years old, I mean, it wasn't new during my apprenticeship, then they have a very, very reliable quality. And the newer ones, or the better ones, they come with temperature control as well. And they have a very compact design. I mean, yeah, Vela, that's right. Yeah, no, it's not Vela, yeah, you're absolutely right. But those ZD912 and the 915, the desoldering station, they are a bit bulky, so they eat up some space in my shelf, and I may have to kind of mod mine a bit as well, because it is a bit noisy. So the PSU, the transformer inside, is making a lot of humming, and this reminds me to switch it off from time to time, which is probably not so bad at all. And yeah, I mean, I may need to have a look inside. Always a bit tricky to spend enough time to maintain your tools if you have so much other stuff to do. That's the same with 3D printer. As soon as you have this device running, then you use it as kind of a workhorse, and you never take the time to maintain it in a proper way until it starts to produce ugly prints. So, wonder that I have no cable strip or something like this. Oh, error! So it stopped working. So my fix wasn't solving the problem. It still remains. Well, very strange, very strange. Yes, I think they are basically unbreakable, those soldering stations. So, yesterday I got one recommendation. And this is something I want to include immediately. So, it's probably something like this, make it a bit lighter. I'm just going to get some cable tights, do you call this cable tights, I think. And in the meantime we're going to have some music. So, I'm back again. So, let me just rename this BRB. And then we can switch it off again. So, very nice, very nice. Yeah, that was my key learning from yesterday. Add a be right back screen. I may have to pimp it a bit that it looks better, but yeah. So the idea is to use those holes, need my glasses, getting older, to kind of keep this in place. And then I think it's going to be okay-ish. And I restocked my shrink insulation material as well. And I know it's not really 5S, but let's put this, or maybe I have a small bag. Which I can use. Keep it in place. Ah, what about this? This I put in my cable box. So, very nice, very nice. So, I was going to use this and for here. And I just have to remind myself. Red, white, yellow, black. Black was blue, yellow was green. Okay. And white was my sync signal. So it's basically like this, which is a bit odd. Let's move this to the side and then... Hi Herb, nice to see you here. RGB, RGB, yes. Hi Akkad Rain. Okay, a lot of people joining today, that's nice. Cool. Yeah, I had a lot of issues with my internet connection, so it worked fine for quite a long time, and then we had some construction work just down the street, basically, and since then we were facing problems. It was really slow, it switched off every hour or something like this. It was very unreliable, and I was really disappointed. So now blue was black, just have to maintain the right order. And so we had to complain a lot about this, and German Telekom came up with a lot of excuses and whatever reasons why it is as it is. But we kept arguing, it was working before, just bring it back into the state we had already. And finally it looks like they found the issue, or they have changed something and now it's working again. And it's basically my plan to be more visible in terms of live streams and especially showing stuff where I may not create a special episode out of it, since it is something I'm doing anyway, so to say. I think I'm going to create one episode out of this live sessions here with this RGB mod, just to kind of preserve that whole project, but in a more compressed manner. But as I know myself already, that's something I have in mind, something I want to do, but I probably will never find the time to do so. So the RGB modding is working quite fine so far. I'm still missing one information. I have contacted the seller of this mod because I still have no clue where to connect those 3 wires on this switchboard here. They have to go to this controller 1 IC and 2 pins to the CPU, but I don't want to do this by trial and error, because this may fuck up my CPU, and this is something I'm not really interested in, because it makes a lot of work to desolder this one. So let's just check if we can have some nice alignment. I hope we're going to have enough space at the bottom of this. Let's turn this around a bit. So I think this is going to work. Yes, and so I decided for today I'm going just to add the sockets to the case and maybe start with the LED mod, sorry. I was thinking about something else. And then I'm going to do the reset mod and the controller based graphic mode switch in the next session as soon as I've gotten the information I was looking for. Oh, it's really good to have a reliable ISP. That's really something that nowadays should be basics of our life, like food and air and water. And it's really, I mean, my internet connection was so bad that usually I recorded a video on Tuesday, then I had Wednesday to do some, if necessary, to do some editing on the video, and then I was using Thursday to upload the video, and then just to have it available on Friday. So that's basically my schedule, and this makes you very, very unflexible. So really have to maintain this schedule, and this is sometimes a bit stressy. So anyway, so now we made some progress with this. Then let's add just some insulation material to here. There are some family communication attempts. Doch, bitte. So, we got audio, we got video. We may need... okay, I should plan ahead a bit. I was looking to connect YC as well, and we may have just used the same place to get the cable kind of fixed, but this is not going to be too tricky. We just need 2 wires. I'm not even sure how often I'm going to use the YC connection, and I just leave this for today, just to get this stuff in and think about the YC at a later point. My TV service is from YouTube TV shows and games without rooftop or cable service. What do you mean with this? You have no, basically you have no TV provider at all or something like this? Decisions. So, well, yeah. I think I postponed the YC connection because that's probably something I'm not going to use anyway. But just for the sake of completion, this is what I do later. I think I start getting those cables into this YC plug, where I have actually no idea how to approach this. Yeah, so now let's solder this into this case. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's ground. There's just one thing that comes to my mind. I got audio on my SCART cable as well. So I have to squeeze audio into this plug as well. That's something I hadn't planned so far. Hi Dadler TL3. I sometimes solder stuff too to repair or mod devices, mostly C64s. Oh, great. On Friday I soldered an optocoupler board for my C64 arcade machine to protect the joystick ports from damage by mishaps. That's a pretty nice idea. That's cool, yeah. I mean, I never had issues with the control port myself, but I did some repairs with killed CIAs. I think due to this control port joystick issue. So yes, and I mean we have no TV provider here at all. The only thing we are watching is basically Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, and that's all we use for TV. So let's see. We put this to this place. Oh, it's a bit skewed. Well, I thought I tested alignment a couple of times, but yeah. So let me just check one thing. If we use ground from here and ground from here. Okay, that's fine. One concern less. Audio and video has the same ground on the NES. So we may go and use the two pins on the bottom. Well, I just should keep it here. Yeah, TV is garbage most of the time. I watch TV every now and then when I'm on business trips and I'm in a hotel and I'm just curious to learn what's going on in TV world. And it's quite surprising that almost nothing has changed over the course of about 20 years. So it's still the same shit they've sent years ago when I still had TV. And I hear my colleagues talk about TV every now and then. Okay, so basically I got 3 pins without function, or without a function I need. So I probably go and just put audio on the bottom 2 pins here. It's going to be an awful procedure, but not going to complain too much. Just want to check whether we get this back into the case at all. And I think it looks fine so far. Now it's a bit bulky somewhere in the middle of it. So I'm actually not sure. There's something that... Oh, basically there's nothing in the way. With the holes here. Yeah, it looks like it fits. I'm not really convinced. Ah, here we go. I think in this... Yeah, that was the problem. Now it sits nice and tight. This is going to be my video, this is going to be my audio, which we're going to need here later on as well, but I think I may do this kind of bridges from here to here. So this is basically a bit too long, but well, for the sake of comfort, let's keep it like this. I watch USA football, yet I use Facebook and YouTube for my 8-bit information like you, yes. I once had a bad accident on the arcade machine. A wire on the reset button got loose and touched something it should not. Okay. Result, the 6510, a 7406N and the 1541U cartridge got damaged. Oh, okay. Well, the first 2 are kind of replaceable, but the next one is a bit expensive. That's really a loss. Yeah. That really makes sense to protect this stuff. Replacing the 6510 with its 40 pins was not much fun, so I decided to add protection to avoid such mishaps in the future. Yeah, that's a very good plan. Yeah, desoldering a 40 pin IC is indeed not very funny. It works quite fine on the C64. On the older boards, not that much, but the 466 and the 469 boards, they are quite okayish, but the KU boards, 47, 425 boards, they are really a pain in the ass, because it's very likely that you break one of the traces while doing so. But compared to the NES, it is almost a walk in the park. Getting the ICs off the NES board is really, really hard, because they have smaller holes for the pins, and it is really, really tricky to get the solder material sucked through the hole. Yesterday I was desoldering this CIC, this copy protection chip, and I had to do it in a vertical style with a soldering iron on one side and the desoldering gun on the other side. So that's going to be a bit dark here, so let's see. Oh, the bus IC got broken. Okay, so you got it fixed. That's nice to know. Great. Always looking for C64 121 online. I have and one. So much fun. Yeah, it's really good to have a kind of a search bot or something like this. But I stopped basically looking for them. I got so many boxes with it. Refurbish a broken cased Commodore C64. Yeah, I haven't refurbished cases so often, so I did this two times or something like this. That's not something I enjoy. So let's try to get this into position. So in terms of case restoration, I'm really impressed by the work that Jan Vida is doing. He's paying so much attention and so much time into those cases that would probably drive me crazy. That's really awkward. So hard to reach the pins here. Jan is awesome. Yes, Jan is really awesome, and he's a very, very nice bloke. I visited him just 2 weeks ago or something like this, and we had a very, very nice time. playing games and had a lot of chit chat about retro stuff and all that things, and it was very, very pleasant to meet him in real life. Wizards Arcade at Instagram. Oh, I have to check. I'm following you there already. Wizards Arcade. Yep, already doing so. Fine. So, then let's do some easy wiring. I do not have Twitter as to do too much. Yes, that's right. It really starts to create a lot of work to be present on social medias, and so I cut myself down to Twitter and Instagram, since there's a slightly different, let's say, group of people I'm trying to reach as well, and my main focus is basically YouTube, but it's really nice to get in contact with the people there, and I learn a lot as well. Just remain there. Bad thing about Twitter is people like to use it for political virtue signaling. Yeah, I recognized it at the beginning as well, but then I started to sort these people kind of out of my following list. And especially during this whole Brexit discussions and all that stuff. I mean, I understand that this is indeed an important topic for people from the UK and especially for the EU at all. But sometimes it becomes a bit, well, exhausting, so to say. So, now I have to perform the impossible. Have a good view on this without blocking access of my soldering iron. So, audio wires are kind of in. Now it's about time to put video and audio output into this, and That's the point where I kind of regret that I have made such a short cable here. But well, that's the way it is. So we're not... Well, yeah, we need this. I see. Just have to check something. The C64 with the dead CPU worked when the Turbo Chameleon was connected, as it replaced the CPU. So he knew that this is most likely the CPU. At the weak edits it were okay, they were socketed, so I could test them. Yeah, that's very handy. I have used this as well, and it's good that you can at least power up the C64 to see if something is working at all, and then it is very good to move forward from this. So that's green, that's G and D, and that's left and right, which is probably not really important because it's mono anyway. I just was looking for ground connection. Ah, yeah, I see. Damage by storage, that's very common. I had a TZ 1.0 but sold it 2 years ago. No car, no bus, so I had to get one. No car, no bus? Whatever. Yeah, I had a TZ or a Turbo Chameleon version 1 as well. And sold mine, and then I bought the newer one just later. So something I kind of regret. But on the other side, to have one, that's really enough. To have two is just for the sake of collecting, but sometimes we do mistakes. So now I have to get 2 wires in one place. So let's try it a different way. Put this on top of itself. Now I could use 3 hands, but well, just got 2. Damn it, I should have come up with a different plan to do this. Got an idea. put on a small piece of shrink insulation just to keep the two cables together. And we're going to do the same with the other one. To make my C64 portable, I built a power adapter that allows to power a C64C using a power bank. How cool! At those aftermarket C64 cases, they are quite interesting because basically, well, they are new, so you do not have the problem of brittle plastics and all that things. But I have to admit, the quality, the mold quality is not as good as the original cases. So especially on the black one and on the transparent one, you can see that there are some kind of imprints on the surface. And this is indeed a bit sad, because it's so nice to have the chance to get kind of original cases. But if the quality isn't where we want to have it, then it's a bit disappointing, considering that they are a bit expensive too. Hi Chris, thanks for joining. Nice to see you here. So, now hopefully I'm going to get those audio wires soldered in. Number one. Have to keep in mind there's just a ground connection. I'm probably going to do this right now. And this is done as well. Nope, wasn't working. Yeah, from Pixel Wizard, those cases, yeah. It was really crazy. I had one project at the beginning of this year where we were looking for a transparent case, and there was absolutely no chance. I found one on eBay but it was very expensive, so we decided now we are not going to use this one. And now back in well, late autumn or late summer, can't even remember, they announced that they're going to produce new transparent cases, and so I just bought one to have it in case I'm going to need it. So, got the audio in. Well, that was a pain in the ass. That was not very enjoyable. Now I just have to bring in the video cable, and then the work on this side is done. And then I just have to do the thing with the... I'm going to do this right now. Well, yeah. With the plug. And that's basically today's mission. Of course, it's not going to be as long as yesterday, because tomorrow I will have to go back to work, and I don't want to be as tired as today. So, blue, green, red. Ground. Let's start with ground. Then the next one is going to be the white one. Nope, that wasn't working. I may put this on top. Probably going to be easier. Yep. Red. Yeah, this is really an advantage of the clear cases. You can put in a lot of LED stuff, and especially if you combine this with the U64 and this RGB LED stripe you can connect to the user port, it creates indeed a very nice appearance. And I'm having a transparent case for my main C64 since, well, a couple of years, I think. And I added some LED light to this one as well, and that's very nice. Red is done. Green. Oops. Music feels so loud today. I'm a bit surprised. No, it's fine. Yeah, the Swinset Ultimate with its LEDs, that's a very cool thing. I did a modding project quite a while ago where I refurbished a 469 board and I replaced most of the through-the-hole components with SMD parts, just for the sake of the optic. And then we added 2 Swinset Ultimates because they blink so nice. So, I build printing machines and tired is not good. Yes. Being tired at work is never good. It's really a very awful experience. So I think I'm going to... Well, I'm missing... Oh no, ground, it's there. I think I'm just putting one blob of hot glue to the top of this. Oh, I ran out of it, or no? There it is. So, well, that's basically all for this part of it. Now I really have to think about how to get this cable mounted to this tiny plug. There's one very important thing before I go to forget this. I have to put this over the cable. Yeah, because the issue is that the cable is very thick, and in order to build this, I really have to push this plug into this case or housing or whatever you want to call this, and I have to have as much cable available to pull it out of this, so I'm not going to end up like this or so, because I need at least that much space to work on it. It is not a splitted case, and it's going to be very, very tight inside this plug. So I'm very sure I'm going to hate myself when I'm working on this part. I have no idea how I'm going to squeeze in all those wires. And I think before I'm going to do this, I will have some dinner, and then I may go and finish this. I think I will end up just cutting this kind of band protection from this cable so that I can pull it over this, and then I can move it back. and just kind of hope that it remains in place. Not even sure whether I'm able to get all those things into this. Well, initially the idea of, let's say, the creator of this assembly kit was that audio is routed in a different way, but since I wasn't able to find an VGA cable yesterday, I decided to go for SCART. And if I'm going to use SCART, then I want to have the audio in it as well. But I think, as we learned that ground is the same as well, I may go and cut the audio wires back to this point. Just leave the signal wires inside. This makes this a bit smaller. And this is going to be soldered to the plug. This is something that could work. So let me have a brief look at the other side. So the white wire is ground, so we leave this open because it's going to be grounded here. That's the shield. Oh, that's shield. Okay. That's whatever this is. Probably something we are not needed. Ground, RGB and sync. And this is kind of obsolete. So we are not going to connect this on the other side, but I may push it back into my SCART connector. Yeah, that's probably the way I'm going to go. Hi Carlos, thanks for joining. I'm on the waiting list for a new 64E and transparent C64C case. It's already on its way. Yeah, that's going to be a great combo. DIN and big wires are tight. That's it's not even DIN, it's mini DIN. It's even smaller than this. Can you cut it and re-grip it with shrink wrap? Yes, shrink wrap is always a good solution. Unfortunately, I do not have black shrink wrap in this size, so and actually I'm not really looking forward to put. Don't even have white in this dimension, so that's the biggest I have right now. I think I really am going to cut this here until I can push it over this cable, and then that's going to be fine. I mean, to be honest, it's not going to be the most reliable connection, because I think that a mini DIN plug is not really suitable for a SCART cable. It's too rigid, it's too stiff. But since it's just something that stands on my desk, I think it's going to be fine. But I think if I'm going to do this the next time, I will look for a bigger connector, maybe a standard DIN connector, like on the C64. Something like this, something that's more reliable than this kind of tiny piece of whatever. So, well, let's be brave. Let's just cut this off and see if we can have. So, I think it's still too small. Let's have a test. Can't even get those single wires through it. No, still need a bit more space inside. Probably better to use a drill or something like this. So maybe this is going to be enough. We'll see. Oops. What happened? I do not like soldering those DIN plugs. Yes, that's a very awful experience. I don't know why they picked plastic that melts. And well, this fits very tight, so I think this is going to work. And you always face the problem that you either have not really a good soldering, or you kind of melted that whole thing, that all the pins are looking in different directions. Oh, is it? Where is it? Oh, lost my YouTube. That's weird. Where's my channel? Yeah, okay. So, then let's move on. So that's the cable we don't need. Then let's get rid of it. And here. Oh, but let me check something. Before I cut the ground connection of my audio, I may check whether this is bridged inside the OSSD as well. So that's going to be audio, that's going to be video. Yes, it is. Okay, so we just need one ground connection. That's fine then. So it's going to be a bit mess. Come on. So, just have to get this out of this. And then we can get rid of it. Always solar connectors made it to another connector. This minimized heat buildup from deforming the housing. Yes, that's really a good idea, and I'm usually trying to do so as well, just to keep the connector I'm working on in place, because they are really hard to kind of clamp to something or something like this. And but it depends on the wires, and you may face the issue that you have to bring in so much heat that you melt the insulation of the wires as well. So either way, you're going to lose, kind of. But oh, looks like got some melted insulation here as well. So let's see how we can get. Almost. So let's get rid of this. And then just have to put some insulation material to this one. Could have used a different wire for that purpose, so, but anyway. Yes, and this is going to be my cable for this little project here. And let's have a last check if we can get this into this. This looks quite okay to me. It is perhaps a bit too long, so I may have to cut this to have it in place. Then it's going to look like this, which is indeed a bit ugly, so I may have to shorten this a bit, that we have it in place like this, and then we push this over the thingy, and that's going to work, I think. So then let's cut it here. Leave this a bit longer so that we have some room to work with. So So then just some insulation we have to get rid of. So well, they are a bit reluctant to remain in the drilled state, but that's very important, because if they're going to splice during the soldering, then we may have some short circuits in our plug, and this is indeed something I want to avoid. So wow, the insulation melts away quite quickly, so may have to shorten this a bit. So, well, I lost the clamp. So let's see if we can get this into position. So that's the top. So audio's on the bottom. And we may have to add some solder material first. And since it is so small, I'm going to use my little helper. Just have to bring it in a position where you still can see something. So, are they still in place? Oh, looks like this. So, audio on the bottom. Ground. I thought ground was in the middle. Let me check. Okay. I think this will need a couple of rechecks until we get it right. So, let's see. So, no, that is not as I want to have it. Oh, damn it. Why did I start this? I'm a bit confused. So, first thing I just recognized, I'm missing some solder material on this wire. Let's redo. And then I got 5 wires for video, including ground. And I got another ground. I have no idea where I'm going to connect this to. 5, 6. Oh, I do not have to connect this at all because it's on the other side already. So I do not need to solder this one. So, but I have to solder this one to the middle of this. Damn it. So, this one looks okay-ish. Then let's check the next one. Hard Rain, thanks for joining. Have a nice evening or whatever, wherever you are. So, let's check the white one. I have no idea what I'm testing here. So white goes to this one. I just have to keep in mind that I have to turn it around because I'm looking at the solder side of the socket. So then let's check the other side. It's going to be red. So, 2 to go. Let's see, that's going to be this one. That's red again? Nope. Okay, I think I got the first mix-up. It's so hard to see. Very much hate this. Okay, this one we're not going to need. That's white. And red is above it, okay. So this one basically is wrong. It has to move up one pin. This needs to be here. And then we have to figure out what's going to be in the middle. Green and blue. Okay. Making progress. And that's basically all. Then let's see. I'm probably going to need this again. Let's make some space. Looks like a mess here on my desk. So, and let's connect this. Already started to squeeze a bit. And let's check this. So, start with the video. That's supposed to be red. Great. Followed by green. Right. Blue. Right. Round. Oops. Stay here. Brown. And then we have some audio. Maybe this one. No contact. Yep. And the other one. Well, everything looks fine so far. Then let's cross-check. Audio is bridged, that's fine. So it looks like there are no short circuits. No, that's fine. Then take a deep breath, fingers crossed. Let's see if it works. Oh. If it's not fitting, then it's probably not the right plug. Where is my power connector? Yeah. And we need to plug this in. Oh, come on. Oh, the other way around, okay. So. Then, fingers crossed. Let's see what's going to happen. Nothing, because my OSSC is off. Okay. So, where's the correct connector? Thought that's going to be this one. We got a picture. We got sound. What else do we want? Oh, wrong button. So, everything is working fine. I'm very pleased. So, that's fantastic. I'm just going to put the plug together, and then that's all I want to do for this day. I'm so happy that this is working out of the box. I have replaced this connector, this cartridge connector as well, and it's working very fine even in the up position. And yeah, that's all I want to do for today. And I'm very happy that everything has worked. So, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for joining. Whew, that's a big relief, I really have to admit. That was not the work I'm very comfort with, but well, it needs to be done. And yeah, thank you very much for your support, and see you for the next video. Have a nice evening, have a nice day wherever you are. Just going to type here. Bye bye buddies. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Wouter. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.